Let's say you have a really cool hero character. They've probably overcome tons of obstacles, completed all sorts of challenges, and defeated countless foes. But let's say you want a new enemy that's special. This isn't just some run-of-the-mill baddie that gets beat and forgotten about. No, this guy is gonna stick around. An enemy that constantly pushes the hero over the course of the series. Let me introduce you to the Rival. There are a couple of different ways to do a rival character, but I think at its core, what makes a rival is their personal connection to the hero and their similarity to the hero. First, let's talk about the rival's connection to the hero. Rivals can be anywhere from the hero's best friend to the hero's mortal enemy. Take Ryu and Ken from the Street Fighter series. They're best friends as they grew up and trained in the martial arts together as kids under the same master. They mess around with each other, but they greatly respect and care for one another. Friendly rivals like this sometimes get criticism for not being too interesting. A lot of Pokemon fans prefer the jerk rivals, Blue and Silver of the first two Pokemon generations. Starting with Brendan, May, and Wally, the Generation 3 rivals in the Pokemon series became a lot nicer. A rival that leans a bit more in the direction of being an enemy encourages you to want to defeat them even more. It's not quite as satisfying to beat some sick kid who idolizes you. However, I do think there's a time and place for a more friendly rival. I think the more antagonistic rivals work well as recurring enemies that show up every so often for a boss fight. Friendly rivals, on the other hand, are good to have if a rival is going to be a part of the supporting cast. Look at Knuckles from the Sonic the Hedgehog series. He starts as an enemy to Sonic, but he ends up becoming a friendly rival to him, and he works as a character who occasionally gives Sonic a hard time, but ultimately, they do like each other. They're like brothers, they constantly rag on one another, but there's always that love there. On the other hand, you've got the full-on enemy rivals. Let's look at Solid Snake and Liquid Snake from Metal Gear Solid. Both characters are super soldiers who were cloned from the same person. Liquid deems himself to be the genetically inferior clone, so he holds a grudge against Snake. Snake doesn't really have anything personal against Liquid, he's only trying to take down Liquid because it's Snake's mission to do so, but things become more personal once Liquid begins to hurt Snake's comrades. Often rivals will start out as enemies to the hero, but you'll frequently see them eventually join up with the good guys, whether they become full heroes themselves, anti-heroes, or just neutral characters. It isn't as likely that you'll see them remain a mortal enemy of the hero for the entire series. In the Kirby series, Meta Knight was once an enemy of Kirby, starting with his debut in Kirby's Adventure, but over the years he's established himself as an ally to Kirby, which I think was fully cemented in Kirby's Return to Dreamland, where he appeared as one of the playable characters for co-op. Sora and Riku from Kingdom Hearts are interesting, as they start off the first game as friendly rivals during their days on Destiny Islands. However, over the course of the game, their relationship is strained due to manipulation from the evil Maleficent and Riku's own pursuit of power, to the point where Riku and Sora become full-on enemy rivals. By the end of the game though, Riku does come to his senses, and Sora and Riku go back to being friends again. Though interestingly, their rivalry kind of dies at that point, and they spend the rest of the series supporting and helping each other, which is really nice. As for why enemy rivals often end up becoming less antagonistic rivals or even just straight up friends, well, the reason is likely because rivals are often very popular characters. Pull up any video game where the main character has a rival like Bayonetta with Jean or Yakuza with Goro Majima, the rival character is bound to be among the most talked about and well-liked characters in the fanbase. As a result, obviously, the developers are going to include said character into more stuff, and the most obvious way to give the character more screen time is to make them an ally to the protagonist. But now that I've talked about the personal relationship between the hero and the rival, let's talk about that second thing that makes a rival, the similarities between the hero and the rival. What makes rivals unique is that they often share quite a few things in common with the main character. For example, Mario and Wario, they have very similar designs, a brightly colored hat with the first letter of their name on it, a shirt that matches the color of the hat, overalls that cover said hat, a big nose, a big mustache, a big belly. However, Wario has some unique details, like the fact that unlike Mario, he wears a short sleeve shirt instead of a long sleeve shirt to highlight Wario's impressive muscles, which helps him perform his signature shoulder bash dash attack. His shoes and his mustache are pointy, giving him an edgier feel which emphasizes the fact that he's the bad version of Mario. Mega Man and Bass from the Mega Man series are both robots created by genius scientists. They both have the ability to copy the powers of robot masters, and they both have pet dogs. However, while Mega Man is a kind young man who wants to help people and save the world, Bass is an egotistical maniac who constantly tries to prove himself as the strongest. Phoenix Wright and Miles Edgeworth from the Ace Attorney series are both young lawyers who have a strong sense of justice, and are willing to go through extreme lengths to reach the truth. However, while Wright is a defense attorney who protects those who are being accused, Edgeworth is a prosecutor who goes on the offensive and ruthlessly seeks to put criminals away. Phoenix wears a much more friendly and calming blue-colored suit, while Edgeworth has a more aggressive red-colored suit. Generally, rivals will have similar core beliefs, but have drastically different personalities. Of course, when you have two rival characters, it's basically guaranteed that at some point, these two will fight. People would be disappointed if they didn't. Rival battles are always interesting because, as I mentioned before, heroes and rivals are often quite similar. This means with rival battles, you have a chance to make the hero, and by extension the player, face someone who has similar if not the same abilities that they do. In Pokemon games, most of the trainers have some sort of theme. For example, the gym leaders tend to use Pokemon that are all of one type. Roark uses rock types, Gardenia uses grass types, Maylene uses fighting types, etc. However, the rivals don't have these restrictions. Like you, they use whatever Pokemon they please. This of course means you can't rely on just using a single Pokemon that matches up well with one particular type. You're probably gonna need a more well-rounded team to win. The battle against Wario in Super Mario Land 2 is pretty fun because Wario uses the same power-ups that you've used throughout the whole game. He floats around the boss arena with the carrot power-up, and he shoots fireballs at Mario with the fire flower. Ryu and Ken from Street Fighter practically had the same moveset in the early Street Fighter games, although as time went on, they each got a handful of different moves and variations of older moves to differentiate themselves a bit. Neither Ryu nor Ken have any crazy tricks to easily outmatch the other, so you'll have to rely on your knowledge and skill to win in their rival battles. While Kirby and Meta Knight do have different movesets, interestingly, in several Meta Knight boss battles, Meta Knight will actually give Kirby a sword so that they do have similar abilities, allowing them to fight on more equal footing. Sonic has had a few rival battles with Knuckles, but to be perfectly honest, they mostly suck. The Shadow fights are a bit better, and I do like the Silver fight from Generations, but one fight that I always personally come back to is the rival battle with Metal Sonic in Sonic CD. I like this fight because it's a straight up race. No wacky gimmicks, just a straight up race between Sonic and Metal Sonic, and if you go too slow, then you get insta-killed by Eggman. Sonic is all about speed, and considering Metal Sonic is a robot copy of Sonic, a race makes the most sense as a fight between them. If a hero does have a rival, not only is it all but guaranteed they'll have a fight between each other, it's also fairly likely that the rival will be playable at some point in the series. This is usually as a result of the rival being defeated and becoming more friendly towards the hero, as we discussed earlier, but this isn't always the case. Rival characters are usually good picks to make playable characters because, like I mentioned before, they are usually quite similar to the hero, so making a moveset for them probably isn't as difficult. But of course, they'll have their own unique flourishes, like the Noise from Pizza Tower. The Noise plays similarly to Peppino, but there are noticeable differences, like the Noise can't run up walls like Peppino can. Instead, he does a little hop when he reaches one. The Noise, however, can instantly rocket into the air, while Peppino has to get a running start before he can do his super jump. Riku finally became playable in the second Kingdom Hearts game, Chain of Memories, and in this game, he's somewhat similar to Sora. They both have to make use of the card-based battle system, but the difference is that Riku has a set deck of cards, while Sora is free to customize his deck. Riku does have the benefit though of having a faster deck reload and a power-up called Dark Mode he can enter, which gives him access to powerful exclusive dark moves. In the Yakuza series, Kazuma Kiryu's rival, Goro Majima, was playable in the prequel game Yakuza 0, along with Kiryu. Kiryu and Majima each have different sets of fighting styles. Each fighting style is unique in its own right, but generally speaking, Majima's fighting styles are incredibly stylish and over the top, while Kiryu's are much more straightforward and to the point. Rivals are a staple of video games. They offer a chance to give the hero a recurring threat to overcome. They also offer a chance to give the hero a friend, allowing for more allies and even more playable characters. Rivals are a unique type of foe for the hero to face, and rivals are a trope that I think will be around for a long time. If there's any cool rivals that I didn't talk about in this video, feel free to let me know in the comments. That's all I have to say for today, so thanks for watching y'all, and have a great rest of your day.